Hey, proper cup of Joe.
Just feeling it, man. I have not had my first sip yet. Here we go.
Well, we've got snakes. We've got snakes. We've got lots and lots of snakes. Snakes, yeah. There you
Joey,
go.
You're in your like musical theater phase, huh?
That's your new jingle.
That's the one.
You got your website going now. I know you got a MySpace page that's coming up. Put that on your MySpace page.
I've been updating that a lot, really tweaking it lately. It's going to play all the hits.
I just had this conversation. I miss MySpace actually, because you could put a song on there and it was like, this is my song. And you go on and people
knew people knew who you meant business when you put a song on MySpace. You could explain your feelings.
Did you have a MySpace page?
Yeah, I did. And actually, funny enough, MySpace is how I remember this day. MySpace is how I got connected with the PGA Tour.
Really?
I changed my song on MySpace, and I was like, quietly, I think I was like, I put some like code word, like, I think I'm looking or something. And one of my friends, I was living in Alabama. I was running a Ruby Tuesday in Wetumpka, Alabama. And I was like, I'm out of here. I'm done with this. This ain't going to work. This isn't my life that I want.
Yeah.
I was 26. I was like, this is not what I'm going to do the next 40 years of my life. And I was going to either go back I was either going to find another job, or I was going to go back and get my teaching license or certificate or whatever, and go be a history teacher. And somebody on MySpace privately messaged me, and they're like, dude, if you're making any changes, you have to meet the vice president of the PGA Tour. I was like, well, that's got a nice ring to it. All right, let's at least check that. Let's see what's behind door number one, We'll see. It takes a shot. But yeah, that was on MySpace. I remember that. That was summer of 2006 when I was like, this is not the right fit for me.
What do you remember the song that you had on your MySpace page?
No, although it was probably it's really not. It was those songs were like, you couldn't have, like, if you used mainstream songs, nobody took you seriously. You had to be, it was like it was right as the hipster phase was coming in, so you had to put obscure stuff that really showed you knew your stuff. You weren't just going to put, as some Aerosmith hit on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It seemed, it's like, it was like, I thought of it as, it was at that time, it was the newest version of like putting a bumper sticker on your car. That's what.
Right. Yeah. There you go. It's the newest badge of honor. Yeah.
This is who I am, which I always think is kind of, no offense to any bumper sticker users, but I always think like, that's what you want to show everybody else around you, what you're about.
Well, at least
like you got to get real close to see what it says.
That's true. At least like on MySpace, you could change the song like daily to feel it, like a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine like peeling a bumper sticker off every day and putting a new one on every day?
That's a good point.
Yeah. I saw my favorite bumper sticker I've seen lately, and maybe forever, was, let me think what it said. Oh yeah, it said, pretend to honk if you really like mimes. I thought it's the best thing.
I think it's clever,
and
do I want it on my car? That's just the thing.
Yeah, but it's a strong statement. If you're willing to, like, okay, here's this $30,000 thing, and now you're gonna put that, stick it on it. Okay, got to think about it. How about this jersey? Huh?
Yeah. You got a few comments. Well, just one comment, but Are you comment in the chat already about it? It's pretty hot.
Man. I kind of like it. It's from Will at CNC Python Factory. Got to hang out with Will when I was up in Pennsylvania. And he said, Adam, I'm really sorry. I only have mediums. I think it's going to be too small. I said, it's going to be perfect. And so that's it. I like it. It's a button down on the front. I'm not much of a button down guy, but I think it's cool. I think it's going to do all right for me.
Yeah. So only mediums, not, does he have any?
I think they're still in like the protege, or not the protege, prototype phase. So like this, I think was actually a sample from the from what do you call it? Taylor? What do you call the? I mean, it's not like you went down to 43rd Street and got measured for it or anything, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Here's another question. How do I get a proper Royals shirt? Because do you go to your website or how do
you message me directly? And do you still not have a shirt
for a year?
Yeah, that's really on me. That's really bad. I was going to try and make a smart joke or something. Yeah, that's really.
Do you have
bad.
any long sleeves? Do you have any? Oh, what smart joke? You don't have double XLs? Is that what you're going to say? We don't.
No,
you don't have
no.
One that accommodates the larger size an individual. Is that
take
what it
is?
Easy. I'm
I was going to take accountability.
Discriminatory crap out of the Proper Royals brand.
I was going to take accountability that I'm a horrible host and and I mean like a host in a you're in my home kind of way, not a host of the show way. That you have done this for so long now, and that you don't have a shirt. So now I feel disgraced. I don't have a shirt for you though right now. I have to order some, but it's because I've sold them out. They're gone. I have to get another order.
I only have I have another podcast called Crimson Sheen.
Yeah,
and I should wear my shirt for that sometime. It's kind of
you should.
Yeah.
All right. So but I have, to finish that thought though, so I've been inspired. So I got this jersey, and then when I flew home, I went by, there's a like a flatbread pizza company here in at least in Minnesota, but maybe the Midwest, but I think just Minneapolis. It's called Punch Pizza. And when we're in town, we always go to Punch Pizza. And I walk into Punch Pizza and they're wearing personalized soccer jerseys. No button down, nice, smooth V. Nice. The ladies were dressed very nice in ladies' jerseys. Men's had nice fitting men's jerseys. And I felt like Larry David in that place because I walked up to one of the women and I said, I need to know the brand name of that jersey. And she looked at me like I was a psychopath. And then she said, don't touch me. And I said, I'm not going to touch you. Could perhaps one of your colleagues check what brand it is? I'm not going into your space. I'm legitimately curious of what brand this is. And she looked at me, and then the dude that was stretching the dough, he looks up and he goes, I got you covered, boss. I said, okay. And he runs off real quick. Presumably, I guess he goes to the office, and he actually comes back with a jersey. And I look at it, and the brand was called High Five, but it's high, then the number 5, then the word 5. So I don't know if it's High 55 or it's High 5, and the 5 is just their logo. But anyway, I'm going to order some custom Proper Royals soccer jerseys just for Tinley. Got to come by the table.
Oh,
and
nice.
They're gone. They will not be free, but there will only be very limited quantities, probably 10 of each size, individually numbered. So they're unique. There'll only be one in the world. And if you want a custom one ahead of time, I'll get information on prices. You can have your name on it. I think it'd be cool. Like find some with like the captain's band. Like, you could be, I could have a team captain kind of thing,
That's fun. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd definitely go for one of those. Definitely.
So there's one of those, and then absolutely there'll be a t-shirt in the works, Joe. So
how about a long sleeve? How about a long sleeve? I know I live in Florida, but
yeah.
And I'll send you the appropriate all of my measurements and everything. You can get me a custom one. Okay.
Well,
Thanks.
here's the thing. Okay. All right. Good talk, dude. I was going to say these things generally only really work practically in quantities. So I would have to find.
It's not good enough. It's not good enough for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't want to be a merch. I don't want to be a merch seller. I want to sell. I don't want to be a designer. I want to sell ball. I want to be a ball python designer. So like I kind of.
We've got snakes. We've got snakes. We've got lots and lots. Come on. That's a great. If anybody, I'll give $100 to anybody who can come up with where that jingle comes from. $100. I'll send it.
Oh,
send me
you know what?
Your address.
I know
I'll
where,
send you $100.
I know where it is. I'm gonna give me 1 second. I know where that's coming from. I got it.
Really? No, get out.
I've been studying. I've been keeping an eye on my friend Joe. Give me 1 second, and I'm going to tell you where this is coming from.
The jingle I just. The jingle I just sang.
Yeah, I'm going to take one guess. I will not continue to play. I'll either be right or I'll be wrong. Are you ready?
All right. Let's see. I want to see this. See what happens.
I believe it is from The Nightman Cometh.
No.
No? Okay. It was a good deal. It was a good guess, though, right?
It was a good guess, though.
Okay.
Did you check out The Nightman Cometh?
No. I don't know anything more about it than its name. That's the trick to I know I like memorizing like one really in-depth detail about things, and people are like, he knows what he's talking about, but then I got to move on fast because then they find out I'm a fraud. I have this really good skill of like knowing one thing about a lot of things.
All right, gotta go.
Yeah, I'm out of here. Joe,
you don't want to hear me sing again. Somebody's
Nope.
asking. Nobody wants to hear me sing again.
It turns out we got fans of jingles in here, which I didn't know, which is all right. I feel like I would be remiss, or I don't know. You know, when we do our segment where it's like, what's the one thing from this week? And it's like, well, Adam, you lived in America in this week. Yeah, there was a little something.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody comes here for those sorts of lectures or opinions other than like, let's not shoot each other. How about that? Let's go with that and just start there, leave it there. Unless you felt you needed to wade into anything further.
I mean, no. What has been said is enough for me, and I like coming to this space for a break from
a little breather,
all of the things that I mean, not to diminish the conversation or anything like that, but I like coming here and being silly and having conversations, learning a few things, and just being together. One of the things I love about this community is I can tell that there's a lot of different types of people from all walks of life and all different,
I would say so.
all different beliefs and ideologies, and you know, it's hard to talk sometimes about those things. And I like coming together in commonalities, you know. So
I'm with you, and I would say I come here for relief from it, but also it's like an easy out where I'm like, no, don't want any part of it. I'm done. So I wanted to at least acknowledge it, because like pretending like, oh, what happened this week? Oh, this dude ate some hot dogs. Well, yeah, there's a little something else went on too. But with that being said, the timing is a little bit awkward, Joe. But do you know what happened on July 20th, 364 days ago? Do you know what happened for the very first time ever on July 20th, 2023?
July 20th, 2023. First proper cup of Joe.
Very first proper cup of Joe, my man.
Are we? So we're not quite at a year yet, or we know we're celebrating today? 1 year.
Well, we're going to celebrate today. Normally tomorrow would be the 1-year anniversary, but we had a little leap year thrown in. So we got to wait 48 hours for for the true anniversary. It didn't quite line up, but I wasn't letting it get past and then being like, oh, well, you know what happened last week? No way. And we're going to stretch this out like middle-aged women do. We're going to make this because we're celebrating it coming up and then we'll celebrate it after. So it's going to be like the birthday week.
A whole full week. I had no idea. I actually thought it was in August sometime. We started in July.
Yeah, I did too. And I was like, well, I'm going to get ahead of this and plan for this. And it was like, oh, it's now. Okay, good. At least I nailed it.
You know what? I haven't learned a damn thing. That's the problem with this.
Well, then we have a long way to go, pal. We've got plenty of content ahead of us. You know, what's really neat though, is that the anniversary falls on International Ball Python Appreciation Day. It's amazing. Look at that.
It's genetics. Hey, it falls on World Snake Day.
No, that's a different celebration. It's World Snake Day. I'm talking International Ball Python Appreciation Day, which
I apologize.
Yeah, that's what you gotta keep it right, man. You gotta. So I thought that was a pretty cool my one thing and worthy of being the one thing. Thank you, Joe.
Gosh.
I'll show this aside. How cool is this? That like, do you remember when I was pitching this to you and you're like, Adam, this makes no sense. I know nothing about any of this. And I'm like, I know, that's what's perfect about it. And you're like,
it's so fun too. It is so fun to get up on a Thursday morning and have a conversation with my friend and to really get into stuff that, I mean, there's so many different passions in the world.
Yeah.
People get into all different types of things, and just a glimpse into somebody's passion, somebody that they just something that they just love to do, and to be around people and to see that, few hundreds of people are watching this every week on replay and stuff like that. They comment, they want to get involved. I mean, it's so fantastic. It's such a great thing. And it looks like we have a new sponsor too.
Yeah, we got a new sponsor, a new industry leader. So I'll be a little bit transparent on this. So that's Husbandry.pro. They're a data software tracking company for focused on reptiles, but honestly, you can use it for anything. But it's really tracking data and logistics for reptiles, and it's improved my functions. They're the people that designed the website for me, so that improved my efficiency and operations incredibly. Now I can professionally reach the world from my website. But we had wrestled with that. To me, Joe, you and I have worked very hard. Those banner spots have an incredible amount of value, and sometimes value comes in different ways. So we had talked a lot, but that website, I really feel thankful and somewhat obligated to figure out how to say thanks. And I said, you know what, let's work something out here.
That's fantastic.
I would love to have the banner up there. And I'm proud to be, just speaking personally, but I'm really proud to be associated with brands like Cold Blooded Cafe, Husbandry.pro, Redline Shipping, and ShedTesting.com. Those are the 4 brand banner partners. And it's one, I don't even mean it as trinkets. Like, I think sometimes people collect sponsorships like, ooh, look at this, I got this and this. And yeah, there's a financial benefit to it, but to be associated, seriously getting chills, to be associated with the quality of people at those brands. Those brands are people. Those are people doing amazing things. And that's the same whether it's Creative Genetics, whether it's Reagan, Renee, Royal Pythons. Like, I vet all the sponsors. There's a reason it was a year that was blank. We had people that wanted to go there. And I just said, it's just got to be the right fit. It's got to be the right situation. And you can check out properroyals.com and see what I'm talking about. I mean, it's fantastic stuff.
I mean, we joke on the show about how, we have a new sponsor. I'm going to have an extra bottle of wine. Right. Something like that, which is very beneficial for me. But to echo what Adam says, I'm also excited to be a part of promoting good people within this industry.
Yeah.
to get, because I know, I mean, I haven't met some of them personally, but I know that Adam is just a guy of integrity, and that's what we talk about. The way to do business is do business with good people, and the people
Yeah.
that we have around our conversation here, I know are good people. So thanks for that. And maybe if anybody out there wants to sponsor a little bit more, maybe I could add a little cheddar cheese to the wine. What do you think of that?
I like the idea. I got to admit, there's not much of a wine upgrade coming from this one. This is a little bit of a
Oh,
value
no,
add rather than.
I know. It's funny when I said that. Cheddar is cheese. Cheese is like a word that you use for money too. Isn't that
That's
weird?
right.
How many different words do we have for money? We got dough,
Oh, a
we got
lot.
bread, we got cheese. I mean, there
Ben,
seems to be a lot of
yeah,
there was a guy
Benjamin,
I had a
clams.
clams. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Weird. I had a guy. No, I had a professor in in college. I took a history of rock and roll class. I got a
Oh,
C in it.
nice. Oh,
Got a
come
C
on.
though. I didn't
That's
buy the book. I was too cocky. I didn't buy the book.
Well, that's what
Uh,
I had a Spanish teacher once that we had a Spanish speaking student in the class, and we were all like, "This is cheating," and she was like, "Nah, native speakers don't do well in these classes. So don't worry." And they didn't do well either. Yeah, I think that you go in, you're like, "Yeah, it's going to be an easy grade," and then you don't do well.
the point was, during his lectures, every time he mentioned money, he would go, "The mean green, the cashish, the ducats." And he was a guitarist for Loverboy at one
Oh,
point.
really?
So yeah,
Okay. Everybody working for the weekend? Yeah.
everybody's working for the
Want a
weekend.
piece of my heart? Okay. Um, I had a macroeconomics professor and this is in the early days of like TV classes. It was like an online course, but it was a TV class in my day. I got old, man. So there was thousands of people in this class, and it was one of these like entry level freshman year macro. And anyway, he starts telling a story about a farmer and his macroeconomics, and he's a chicken farmer and this and that. And like he spends an hour and a half of this lecture working up to the line saying, "So you see, you can get your money for nothing and your chicks for free."
Oh my gosh.
Right? It's terrible, huh? That's all I remember of
I
that class.
think
I do not remember any macroeconomic philosophy
I think
from
that's
that class.
fantastic. I think that's fantastic that holding that for so long to do it like an hour just to
Yeah,
get to the point.
26 years later of farmer whoever of nonsense. So you see, class, you can get money for nothing and chicks for free. And then he ended. And I think 2/3 of the class never made it to the payoff. Because this is a TV class, you just go buy the notes down at there was a bookstore called Einstein's. You go buy the notes at Einstein's and on you go. And anyway, yeah, so there we are. Any one thing this week, Joe, or did you just decide to
I
we'll
mean,
just move on?
we had some good one thing conversation already. What I'm really excited about, and I don't know if you can tell, and I don't think you will be able to tell,
Whoa.
but we are finally getting to redecorate this room in here. It's been a while, so hopefully by next week I'll have a different background, but it's really pretty much going to be the same because all you can really see is the fan, and
Well,
because I'm so massive.
if the
So
it's true, you're gonna Hulk smash the episode. If there's one thing I've learned about home decoration, it's that if there's an area that's primarily the man's area in the house, it's last. It's dead last in what's going to get redecorated. So that
yeah,
means that the whole house has been taken care of, and now you're going to get a little breadcrumbs sprinkled around, huh?
I'm really excited. I think we're going to change this room because it's right off the living room. We're going to change this
Correct.
room into a place where people can hang out. A workspace, yes, but a place where people can hang out and enjoy themselves. So we've
Oh,
ordered
okay.
some furniture, and I'm just like, it's funny as you get older,
Right, yeah.
the kind of
You're like,
crap
and new
that you get really
sofa's coming. Yeah.
yes. The chairs are here. Yes. I bought a refrigerator maybe 5 years ago. And it's not, I mean, it's nothing special, but when I bought it, it has like a little glass door on it, and if you knock on the door, it lights
Yeah.
up. And I
I
thought,
definitely needed a how-to after. I mean, because when we hang out, we do drink some red wine, and you're like, knock on it, and I was like, no, not knocking on your fridge, and then sure enough, you're like, no, tink, 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 and boom.
it's completely pointless too, but I was so excited about it.
Troy says, Joe, get yourself a little cheddar with the wine this week. How about that?
Oh, look at
Troy?
this,
That's at
man.
Balls and Strikes.
Troy.
Speaking of tasty t-shirts, I did get one from Troy at Balls and Strikes. Troy, it has been through the wash, so it's had the pre-broken in. I believe next week it will make its debut on the show. And Troy's got a cool, like, little pinup theme going on, a twist on the bowling team stuff with the pinup balls and strikes, ball pythons and strikes.
So so a lot of the people that tune in on Thursday mornings tune in like it's like a
Right, the old AM dial. Yeah.
yeah. No, but people who tune in, like, do most folks sell merch like that, where I can go and like maybe go to their website or just contact them directly and buy
I
a
think,
shirt?
yeah, I think most people actually, you have, I don't know if you know, Joe, you have a little, oh, it's a baseball theme. Damn it. Okay. All right. Man, balls and strike. Oh, yeah. The strikes. I never realized strikes in baseball and strikes in bowling. Okay. I stand humbly corrected. You can, Joe, you got a little bit of pull. If you want a t-shirt, I think you should make a little, hey, leave in the comments or leave on that. Like, but you're a man of mystery. After you disappear during the week after the show, like nobody knows how to get a hold of you. I promise people would send you shirts if you were a little accessible. Look at this. Oh,
Well,
donut and cheddar. How about this,
look at
man?
this. Oh my gosh. I kind of feel a little bad about this. Like
Let it
this is
happen and
nice.
just
This is
enjoy
so
it. Just
nice.
let it happen, man. Yeah.
This is great.
John is one of the Patreon members too. Thanks for all the support, John. But yeah, you guys take the subtle hint from Joe. You can leave it in the comments, but if you would like Joe to sport your swag or talk to him about some swag, just leave it in the comments and it'll be up to Joe to contact you.
Yes, I would.
There you go.
And I would represent, definitely.
Okay. And what size garment would you feel most comfortable in?
Double XL.
Double XL. All right.
Soon
Perfect.
to be XL though.
Soon to be. Oh, so
But
you can send
most comfortable, and
people could send you XLs as a motivation goal.
Yeah. That would be good.
There you go. I too would have a motivation goal if somebody sent me an XL. I would have a lot of work to do, and it would take effort and focus and determination.
Lots of protein, lots of heavy weights.
That's right. Guns, shows, all kinds of stuff. Joe, what do you think of? It's been on my mind lately, both ball python wise, but I think about it in general a lot. What do you think of this idea? There's like we're constantly hurtling forward in technology. Look at this. We can have a little show and not look like idiots trying to have Wayne's World in our, public access local cable TV channel. And we could do it, I think, with a little bit of quality from technological advances. What do you think of the idea that craftsmanship or an artisanal culture gets lost as we hurdle forward in technology? Or is that all absolute BS for snobbery excuses and exclusionary stuff to keep others out? Or is it something else?
I mean, so the second, I would say the latter. Yeah. I mean,
I kind of feel that way too. Yeah.
And we usually have a point counterpoint on this, but
Well, I could argue a little bit of both.
yeah. Why would that be? How?
Okay, so and this takes a little bit of nerdiness, but ride with me, guys, ride with me, audience here. So in guitars, I can buy essentially a synthesizer guitar. It'll still have 6 strings. I still have to play it. But then it plugs into a computer and you can tell it, hey, sound like a Gibson acoustic, sound like a Stratocaster, sound like I'm playing through a Marshall cabinet, sound like I'm playing through a 1960s Fender Princeton amp. And the reality is they sound pretty good. Yeah. The reality is, like most of our audience listening would probably go, I wouldn't know a Les Paul through a 1960s Princeton if you kicked me in the teeth with it. Does it sound nice? Hey, it's pretty good. We've made music. Yeah. I don't need to go buy a 50-year-old vintage transistor tube amp, which, no, that's a false statement. Transistors replace a vacuum tube amp. Transistors replace those. But gear junkies like me refuse to have an amp that doesn't have these archaic vacuum tubes in it. These things light up like Edison light bulbs in the back of it. And we swear that that's where the tone comes from. And I mean it very seriously. I don't want an amp it's called solid state if it has transistors. I don't want an amp that's a solid state amp. I want a tube amp. And they're archaic technology. They're not.
Now that's a little different because you're holding on to something that's been around for a while, which I don't think that's such a terrible thing. That's like there's a part of the passing along the tradition of playing guitar. Now, what it does bring up in my mind is this documentary came out a while ago called "It Might Get Loud." Have you ever heard of that?
Oh yeah, it's very good. But let me finish that one thought.
Okay, go.
But I would argue too, the sound is better. I feel that the sound and the tone is better from that tube amp than this computer transistor. The reality, I think, though, is that 99.9% of consumers have no care, and rightly so. This is where the snobbery comes from. Because then what would the typical person in my shoes say? Well, the audience is idiots. They're uneducated. I'm doing them a favor by using my old tube amp with amazing tone. I don't think it's actually all that true. But yeah, It Might Get Loud. Fantastic. The Edge, Jimmy Page.
So Jimmy Page, Jack White, The Edge, and of course Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin, amazing riffs, so fantastic. Right. Then you had Jack White, who was kind of at that time kind of a throwback to the old school rock and roll guitarists, right? And then
he also was the kid in the candy store hanging out with Edge and Jimmy Page.
But then you had The Edge, which I was like, this is a weird pairing. This is a weird addition. And because I'm kind of like, is he really? I've like, when Jack White plays, it's amazing. Yeah. When Jimmy Page plays, it's amazing. The Edge, I'm like, yes, he's a personality, but then during the documentary, you see what he does with the technology that was available to him.
That's right.
And traditionally, I wouldn't think of The Edge as like an amazing guitarist the way that Jack White is or Jimmy Page is, but he's making a different sound with the technology that's available to him. So
definitely
that makes him a good musician, a really good musician.
He invented his own style. Yeah. I mean, try to play, if any guitarist knows, if you try and play a U2 song, you can play chords and you can get a melody. To sound like The Edge it's nearly impossible, and some of it's from the equipment that he uses, but he's also got a style and a rhythm that are incredibly unique and rarely replicated. I mean, there's almost nobody that's ever pulled that off.
Yeah.
So Balls and Strikes says, if you're the creator of your music, you can hear the difference, then it's worth the time and the cost of what will please your ears. I agree with that in that setting, because I love vintage. And what's really crazy is guitar technology is really not advanced. A guitar pickup is an electromagnet with two wires stuck in a guitar, and the strings disrupt the magnetic field, and somehow we turn that into sound. That's archaic stuff. Like, you were still tuning it to attention to get a certain vibration. Like, a computer could solve all of this. All these tuning issues that we had, this is nonsense. Like, it shouldn't happen, but it does. And then the variations in the wood, and every guitar sounds, I think I always use the example. I think if two car guys drove the exact same model, I don't know, call it a Mustang, whatever it is, from the same year, the same producer, the same model, everything, they would both say, oh, this one feels a little different for this one from this way and this way. And that's how I feel with guitars as well. But let's take this to snakes.
Yeah,
Off the bat.
so that would be my question. What is the equivalent conversation? Yeah, what's going on in the snake world that is equivalent to this?
So there's a few things. One being, and then there's this macro idea that I always hear of as well, even with chefs. But so the easiest thing to say in snakes is this advent of DNA testing. We no longer have to wonder if something is heterozygous, and this is where it gets really nerdy, and I don't want to leave people in the dust here. But heterozygous is one copy of a recessive gene that you cannot see with your eye. Mm-hmm. If you pair a visual, so that would have two copies, that's homozygous, to a heterozygous, all of the babies will be heterozygous. But if you pair heterozygous to heterozygous, only 66% of the babies will be het. And if you pair a normal that has no copy of that gene to a heterozygous, only half the babies will have that gene. And in those last two scenarios, you cannot see it with your eyes. And that is where it used to be that you would hold those babies, you would grow them up, you would rebreed them, and you would hope that this magic came out of the egg. And everything I just said in the past 20 seconds took about 5 years to do.
Okay.
Whereas now, you can take the shed test. You could pay your you could pay your 30 to 50 bucks to have it tested. I prefer shedtesting.com. And if I were to do that, I'd use the promo code proper15. And then you can know immediately, very fast service from shedtesting.com, whether your animal is heterozygous for this gene or not. And Joe, you're probably going, man, that's a whole lot of mumbo jumbo jargon. You're keeping me on the outside with your words. But I guarantee you, every person in the audience says that it was the single biggest game changer in our industry. And that happened within the last 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. So the argument that I've heard from some other players in the industry, especially those that have been around a long time, is, well, all the art and all the work and all the effort has been taken out of it. And my gut feeling is, on the surface, this is just an old timer that's frustrated that things got easier.
Yeah. And I can see both sides of it.
Yeah. I don't want to disrespect that person, because they're a real icon. On the other hand, the ends got to justify the means in this situation, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they?
Yeah. Well, so snake breeding has been something for so long, right? And it's defined as this thing. And what DNA testing does is take a huge chunk of what it means to be a snake breeder out of it. So it's kind of saying everything, all the work that you've done in the past is obsolete now, or it's not, you don't need to do it. And they've put their kind of heart and soul into doing this type of work. So I would be, if I was doing that kind of thing, I would be kind of resentful. I would be kind of, and maybe that's the wrong term, but I would. That's kind of how I would feel. It'd be like, uh, I mean, I've worked so hard at this type of thing for years to do this type of thing, and now anybody can just do it. Is that really uh, being a breeder, being
Well,
a uh, uh, being a professional in this industry?
for me, yes, it absolutely is. It is equivalent in my mind. If I were to be a guest professor in a history class and go, I didn't have Google, and I'm mad that you guys aren't flipping through pages of a bibliography
Yeah.
for other sources. What? Because I suffered, you got to suffer? Like,
Yeah.
and it's the same with chefs, and I see it culturally too. Chefs in the HR department don't always get along, and I would have to have some discussions sometimes about kitchen culture. And they're like, these kids today, they're this or that. And I'm like, hey, just because you were treated like garbage doesn't mean that you
Right.
have to be the one that passes it on. And that's taking the analogy a little bit far. I don't think that's actually a fair analogy. Um, but it seems, and I should say this, if somebody misses those days, I liked the research. I liked my time in the library. I liked those aha moments.
Yeah.
But it wasn't efficient or practical. If the right answer and the right facts are accessible faster, we want those. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't, and this is also taking the analogy way too far. If you, if early man was excited about rubbing sticks together to stay warm, go ahead and rub your sticks together. But I'm going to come over here and turn on my thermostat. And again, that's too far as well. So
Okay. Yeah.
but I'm sorry, I guess to wrap up the thought on at least on snakes,
Hmm.
to me, beautiful snakes and beautiful outcomes are still the goal. So we can jam all the genes we want together. We can, we could come up with the most complicated things ever. But at the end of the day, if it's not a beautiful animal that brings, it's got to be an animal that brings awe and inspiration and joy to either ourselves or the ultimate owner of that animal. Otherwise, some of them if you have a multi-heterozygous animal, that's very valuable in a certain way. But the goal at the end of the day has to be beautiful snakes that hopefully open new eyes to our industry and again bring some sort of joy and awe and inspiration
Right.
to the eventual owner or to the person that bred it. And genetic testing helps that, and it's a new industry for the people that are offering that service.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going what you said earlier. You're getting to the same ends. You're just using different methods, and the one method is much quicker than the other method. But it makes it. I mean, everybody talks about AI and how that's going to affect everyone, right? And I mean, I use AI in my work to go. Uh, Write me up a paragraph about this service or that service, whatever.
Right.
And it's so quick. Now the other now I teach. I'm an adjunct, and I teach classes, and I have assignments, and they're writing assignments, and there's not. So I don't blame my students for using AI because it's so ready, it's so quick, it's so available. The problem is
Great example, by the way. Yeah, this is totally worth going down the hole on here.
the problem is they're not the purpose of going to class is to use your brain and to think critically, to develop your critical thinking skills about a particular subject. You can't do that if you just type in a question to AI and it gives you an answer. uh, Critical thinking is self-directed. It's everything. The only person who can actually do critical thinking is you. Nobody can do it for you. And it's the
Yes.
exercise of your brain in order to do that. So So AI in that respect, I feel, is robbing people of actually developing their critical thinking skills because they're relying on AI to give them answers. So in that regard, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, there's this downside. We're not gonna be as great of critical thinkers as we can be because we're relying, and you can see that just in the use of the internet too. Uh,
Right. Well, and so remember when we were coming up, yeah, it was Google and websites. How are students going to cite uh this internet? And what if they Google something? And I think I heard, not I think, I know I heard a podcast. I heard it wasn't a podcast, but a video that I just heard the audio version of. And it was a marketing guy, and he talks about the use of AI in marketing. And he says that there's two kind of phases, or maybe a third phase even. I'm going to try and paraphrase this. There's marketing people who hate AI because they think AI is going to take their job. Then there's marketers who think they can use AI and it's out there, and they're sort of buying into what I've sort of pitched. Hey, it's a faster way to an end.
mhm.
And then he argues that the very best marketing people, because marketing at its core is a pretty creative endeavor. It actually mixes technology or what would the opposite of creativity be? So kind of finite set of facts and statistics with creativity. And he says AI is going to help the most for people that utilize AI and then do the human things that AI cannot possibly ever do. And when they adopt that mentality, that's where you're going to go forward. When you utilize the tool and then add on to it the things that the
Yeah,
machine can never do. And Troy made a point, genetics are good to know, but it doesn't change your odds. It doesn't speed up time. You're still going to have to do the work. It just confirms what's there, and it takes the time out that it took to answer those questions.
mhm.
But you still got to come up with beautiful snakes. You still got to come up with from a business standpoint, a way to stay in business and figure that out. But trust me, there's beautiful snakes everywhere. So how are you going to, stand out in the crowd? How are you going to differentiate yourself?
So it's really the
I
mentality. It's the mentality of the user with the technology. If you're using it to take something away that your brain can do, uh, uh, and nothing more than that, like in the case that I'd said about students in class, and it just I don't want to work on this, so I'm going to use technology. Uh,
Right.
and that might be problematic. But if you're using it to advance yourself, to make your work better, then that's a positive. That's a plus. That's
That's
a
right.
good thing. Right?
I think to boil it down, if you're using it to be lazy, big surprise at the results you're going to get. They're going to be mediocre. If
Yeah.
you're using it to increase efficiency or to add to your creativity, if you have a nugget of something and you're not sure where to go, you
Yeah.
can ask this thing for a ton of ideas. We could ask the audience for a ton of ideas. We might get 30 ideas, and two of them we go, that's why we did it, and we would
Right.
we
Yeah.
would still consider that a success. And
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would slam us for that.
I think.
Resource,
Yeah. I
yeah.
think.
So I don't think. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
What you're talking about is like the most of the time I use AI when there's a roadblock, and it kind of
Right.
jogs my mind to do something different. Like
Yeah.
if I have a task and I go, I just don't know where to start with this thing. Let me get an idea, and I'll ask Chat GPT or something like that. I'm not an
Right.
avid user, but it's been really helpful to kind of get the wheels turning, especially on things that I don't really want to do. So,
Yeah.
so
Right.
maybe
Well, so
that's
I'll tell you where I use it, and the jury's still out if it's effective or not. Time will tell if it is. So you and I will cook up an idea. Okay, so we cooked up the idea. We are still the humans coming to the show. We're still the humans interacting. But then I'll tell AI what our show is about and ask it to cook up the really technical stuff, the SEO optimization, the tags, the keywords. Okay, AI, you deal with Google. I want to deal with the humans, and we'll see how that goes. That's a fairly new endeavor, but it's even if it's flatline results that don't improve, it does save me time. So I get that back. Yeah. So that's an improvement. So even if it's just as good as what I was doing, but it's 25% faster, that's a 25% efficiency. I think we'd all take an improvement in 25% in our lives.
Now you can see how that can be threatening to somebody who's like an SEO consultant or a marketing consultant or something like that, which might make them go, hey, hang on, it's not going to be as good, or don't use it, or this is a better way to just to use people and stuff like that. Or the same people can go, okay, yes, it's kind of a threat, but let me turn it into an opportunity and actually use it. And then maybe I can use it in a certain, like, I think it can be,
curve, yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of people who in positions. I'm in accounting, right? When it first came out, I was kind of like, well, can't you just, it's going to be a certain thing that you can just plug in and
plug some numbers and then
I'm obsolete or whatever,
right?
which is fine. And you know, if my job goes away, whatever, I'll just find another job. But the point is, you can, I think it can be used as an assistant to any job, to go, okay, if to go, all right, prioritize what I need to do. This is my job description. Prioritize what I need to do, and help me kind of, because how often do you get up and you go, I have a list of 20 things to do, and you spend time making that list? I mean, wouldn't it be great just to go, okay, these are the things that I need to do, prioritize them for my week, and then I can get right to work. I mean,
right.
It's the way that we use them that can make working easier, better, more efficient. And I think that's a really exciting part of this, along with the scary stuff that you hear that people go.
Yeah. So a couple thoughts. One that I thought was really timely. On Tuesday night, there was a guy on my show named Billy Rose from a company called Mutation Creation. And Joe, you just have to buy into this for a moment. Billy is probably on 99% of people's Mount Rushmore of ball python breeders, at least modern breeders, but he's been at it 25 years.
Okay.
What you described happening to an SEO marketer, perhaps an accountant, is also what Billy is describing. And Billy's approach is change happens. We do things differently. I used to be able to get into the Asian market, and that went away. Europe was great, and then Brexit and the Euro community happened. Economic laws changed. And what I heard really succinctly is change is going to be constant. I get chills talking about it. We found it in restaurants. Change is going to be constant. When I first started in restaurants, we were still handwriting tickets, and we had the wheel. You remember the wheel in like old movies? You hang your ticket up and you zip the wheel to the to the grill guy. Could you imagine? I mean, that was in my lifetime. And now we're taking orders at the table that we don't even have to go to a computer. It zips right to the grill cook in front of him. And so change is always going to happen. And sure, sometimes you fight it if it's immoral, unethical, you don't like it. But the fact is, whatever the expression, the horse has left the barn, you may as well figure out how to ride that horse rather than trying to put it back in the barn. It's just not going to happen. And your competitors, the other people, they don't care that 50 years ago, what am I going to, hey guys, I'm going to open a restaurant. We're going to bring back the wheel. Mm-hmm. It does nothing for the customer. It does nothing for the participants in the exercise, and we're going to go out of business. So you gotta use it. There's a really Pressure Pythons is Justin and Alex. Alex happens to work with the wife of the very first general manager that ever hired me in Jacksonville. How small is that world? And when I talk about the wheel, Justin knows what I'm talking about. I can remember Friday or Saturday nights, that guy who's I think he's a vice president now of Ruby Tuesday. I can remember him absolutely losing it, screaming at us with that wheel and the tickets and the papers everywhere, man. So it's funny how small the world is and the circles that come around.
And that it is more efficient with computers, and
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it is like from instead of the wheel and the paper and everything.
Yeah,
sometimes the technology doesn't lend itself to efficiency. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's more. Sometimes it creates more mistakes, and that's something that that you
it
have
does
to be
happen.
aware of. Yeah.
And then there's also the steep learning curves of technology, where the faster you get your head around, hey, I am going to climb this hill, I'm going to figure this technology out, and I'm going to use it, while other people go, screw that. That's a lot of hard work. I'm just going to do what I do. I've noticed, and not to just keep returning back to these things, but I noticed that with Husbandry.pro, my initial resistance was, this is a steep learning curve and there's a lot of work up front to do.
Yeah, right.
Once you do it, then you're off to the races and you never look back, kind of thing. And I think that there's been a lot with that. And sometimes they're easy. I think of a stick shift to an automatic transmission. That was not a very steep learning curve. That's pretty easily adoptable. Some other things take a little bit more, but I do ask myself, what tools are out there? How can I get ahead? How can I differentiate myself from the competitors? And if each of these little tools will help, because it's a game of what do they call football? A game of inches. I mean, it's just a game of millimeters. There's tens of thousands of breeders out there. At the end of the day, I probably don't produce anything that's not already been produced.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why me then? I still got to answer the why me question every time,
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of a great book called Leading Change. And I mean, it's John Cotter has been around for a while. He talks about how like he's like a guy who talks about change management in organizations and everything. And his latest iteration of this Leading Change book, I think it's called Accelerate. He talks about how difficult it is for organizations to actually make that change to a new technology, because there's such a large learning curve that you're asking your employees to go to do the thing that they've been doing all the time, but also do this other thing where they're learning how to. So it's almost like a dual processing system, and and that's why people are resistant to it, because they've got to maintain what they're doing, what their job is, while doing another job, which is learning this new way of doing things.
That's right.
So it's really, I mean, his approach is you've got to really teach the vision. You've got to really have a clear vision of what it's going to be like, so that people can get through that two job system, that dual processing, that moment in time of their job, so that they can learn the new thing and get to that vision of, we're going to be more efficient. It's going to be better for you. It's going to be easier for you. All of that stuff.
I agree. And I almost not actually, no, because a lot of times we remember the failures, but a lot of times, like, looking back, we only think of like the rosy, like, good times, like the grass was always greener in those days. And you're like, well, maybe that wasn't such a good time. Let's, but anyway, yeah, I remember going to my chefs, guys I'd worked with for a decade and a half. Like, I brought the guys from the PGA Tour, a couple guys, three of them that I'd worked with there, and I didn't take my last position without them. Like, that was contingent that I would take the position, was that those guys get to come with me. And I remember after we'd been there about a year and a half, the GM said, hey, we're going to this whole new software, whole new operating system. It's club wide. It's everything from dues collection, golf fees, and food and beverage point of sale. and it's going to have these computers and it's going to have these iPads. And the chefs were like, we're not doing it. And I was like, we are doing it. And it's funny in the moment, because I almost lost those guys. Like I really had, that was one of the times where I was like, guys, you have got to have my back here. We're in this together kind of thing. We all took this job together. This was our dream to bring to life. And now looking back, nobody is still using handwritten tickets. Nobody's still like everybody's, you know what I mean? And it wasn't that long ago. And I look back and I even think like, just paper tickets. I mean, it'd be 40 or 50 tickets. No, it's amazing any food ever got out. And like, great that we had learned that skill, but what a terrible waste of mental space now to hold on to that. That could be done for you. You can spend the time, you know, to use the example from the bear, you could spend the time with your tweezers placing the edible flower instead of just like, just ticket disaster explosion everywhere. Get me a runner and get it out of here. Cause you get so much more efficient. And I think in that mindset, that stuff's okay. And to those that sort of miss and you, I think you could be nostalgic about the past and the work that you've done and very proud of the work that you've done. Nobody can ever take that away from you. But to expect that the world's always going to work at the same pace it's frankly naive. It's just not real. And the quicker people adopt how to use the tools in front of them, I think the better that we do.
Now I know that we're running up against time here, but I do think that it is important to have this conversation and hold on to how it was done in the past and to kind of pass that along. Because I do think that that tension between new things and old things is super important to longevity. If you focus too much on the new stuff, it might take over you, and you will lose what has already been learned in the past. And if you hold on and you stagnate to something in the past, you're going to peter out because everybody else is doing things so much quicker. So that tension between the two ways of being, I think somewhere in the middle it needs to be, because that's going to lead to the lessons of the past teaching you how to use the technology of the future for the benefit of whatever you're doing.
Yeah, you do have to have the foundation. I had a conversation with a customer not too long ago who was interested in buying some snakes. And then they said, well, yeah, after I pair them together, then I can shed test and I'll know the answers. And I said to them, you don't have to test any of those babies. They will all be heterozygous. You have to know your facts first.
Yeah. Right.
And I hope I didn't come across condescending to I want to be helpful. I don't think any of us are born with an innate understanding of Punnett squares and how genetics work, but you got to put that work in. It doesn't do any good to have the shed test knowledge if you don't understand the basics of it.
Right.
I could spend literally hours on the beauty that is the Waffle House at 2 a.m. It is, it is the most wonderful sight to behold. And I am not joking. Our dad's gone crazy. ODGC Exotics says Waffle House is still on paper tickets. Joe, sometime we got to talk about the outliers that just do it their way.
Yeah.
So Waffle House, I think, still has the most physical locations of any like sit down non-fast food restaurant, whatever that definition is. They do an immense amount of volume, unbelievable amount of volume. They don't close. In Florida, you know, a hurricane serious when a Waffle House closes. Serious. It's like the Waffle House measurement. But they actually talk about innovation, and technology comes in many forms. I love sitting and watching the logistics and figuring it out. Waffle House uses their own language and their own communication that they have found. Think whatever stereotypes you want of a Waffle House employee. That crew, they all know how to speak that language. their turnover is unbelievably high. So they have to be able to implement it very, very quickly. They use their own language. And if you look at how the server sets the plates for the cooks, the order is actually in how they set the plate. Is the coffee cup right side up or is it upside down? Did they place a spoon at the top or on the bottom? All those things mean eggs cooked a certain way or a certain menu item. There's a certain code, and I don't know it. I have interviewed many Waffle House cooks that tell me this stuff, and then I go try and figure it out, and I can't. It's incredible to this day. I'm going to go, like, this morning, I want to go Google it and be like, this is my logistics inspiration for the day. I want to listen to this while I'm scrubbing tubs today. Somebody on YouTube has got to have figured it out, but they are an outlier, and they're exactly, our dad's gone crazy. Exactly right. They have said, instead of spending all this money on technology, we're going to figure out a succinct way to communicate, and we're going to either, take that money as profit, pass it on to our, customers as in savings or whatever it might be. So we are up against the time, guys. Reagan, Renee, Royal Pythons, great sponsor for us. Go check out Charlie's page. He's got new hatchlings up, and let me see here. 1 second. Let me get my notes. DG, Candy, G-Stripe, Krypton, and Pied. And I love Charlie's information. I've worked with him on some data analysis stuff. And you want to talk about a guy that crunches numbers and analyzes data. You should see his breeding pairing spreadsheet. It's far beyond. I think these two will look nice together. It's fantastic. I got to have them on to show it off sometime. But if you like that attention to detail and that speaks to you, check out Reagan, Renee, Royal Pythons. Morph Market is updated, ready to go. New hatchlings are arriving. Kreative Genetics, that's Keith out in Fresno, California. Stay cool, my brother out there. Keith is working with Stranger in doubles and triple combos, DG, Pied, Clown, Azanthic options with that dark genes. So check out Kreative Genetics. Cold Blooded Cafe, always going to take care of you. It was great to see them in Schaumburg. They were one of my hosts this past weekend. We didn't even talk about Schaumburg today, Joe. We went down the rabbit hole, man. How did we miss? We missed. Check out Cold Blooded if you haven't used it. And I got to say thank you to y'all. Actually, I'm going to slow down. I try and cram these things in, but let me slow down for a second. I always ask when I get a chance to see and FaceTime with some of these companies. I ask them, how am I doing? What's the feedback? What could I do better? What could I do worse? And I'm paraphrasing here, but the owner at Cold Blooded, she says, I don't know, Adam, you're at the top of the list. I got no feedback. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm not saying that because I'm amazing. I'm saying that because you guys are amazing. But if you haven't tried it, clearly a lot of people are using it and their sales are going well. And there's a reason. It's a good product, the best in my opinion. So check them out. You're going to get 11% off your order if you use the promo code proper11. And then last but not least, Husbandry Pro. You get a 60-day free trial. You don't have to use a credit card up front, anything. You can get right to work. You can get right to testing it out. 60 days gives you enough time to really implement it, get over that learning curve, get it in place. And check out properroyals.com to see how Husbandry Pro can be integrated into your own website. That opportunity is coming for all customers very, very soon. You should see that in a couple weeks. So thanks to everybody. Most importantly, to the audience. Joe,
yes.
1 year. Did you give me on the way out of here as we take off the runway into our day? Tell me what your true original expectations were when a crazy Adam goes, Joe, you're perfect. You know nothing about this topic, and that's who I want as a co-host.
My thing is, I better be committed because Adam is committed. That was my initial reaction to this. Because when you do something, it gets done. So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I better be committed because that's the proper rules way.
Man, thank you. That's got to be, it's very kind words. That has to be a little like, there must be like a little asterisk or in your Adam file where you're like, this is going to be a blast, but man, this guy, like, he's got to just chill out. We're not going to relax kind of thing. And
Yeah,
like, that's good. That's good in some situations, but that could be a negative thing in others.
Yeah, I mean, I was genuinely frightened.
Well, Joe, I could tell you, first off, I'm incredibly grateful. Not many people would have taken that on. We clicked, thank God, which there was some planning to that, but it also was a heavy dose of luck, which I can take in life, and I'll be happy to take it. And then look at this. The audience hangs out. We get hundreds of views each week. We've built a little community. And if anybody had drawn up that, hey, at 7:30 in the morning, not only is this a shaky concept to begin with, let's put it at 7:30 in the morning, or in Minnesota, 6:30.
Right. Yeah.
I couldn't be more thankful and more proud of what we're doing. And proud's a weird word because I am proud of it, but really I just get fulfillment and joy from it. Like, I just get to kick off my Thursday. I hang out with people that I know, and we have a good time, man.
Yeah. Say yes when people ask you to do stuff like this. That's what I think.
Take a shot.
That's my takeaway. Take a shot.
Take a shot
and say yes. So thank you, Adam, for including me, and thank everybody for dealing with my ignorance of certain things on every week. And thanks for teaching me. I've enjoyed this year.
My year 2 resolution is to get you a Proper Royals shirt.
I think I'm going to have a balls and strikes one before I get a Proper Royals.
I know. What a horrible thing, right? God, that's so off of it. I got to go find if anybody bought a 2X shirt from me, I'll pay you twice what you paid for it. We got to get it down to Joe. It's going to be fast. I got to put in a new order now. Joe, audience, have an awesome week. We got to get out of here. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Joe. Here's to another year, man.
See you next week.
See ya.